I wanted to welcome everybody to the Town of Webb June regular meeting. I'd like to call the meeting in order, and please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I want to thank everyone for coming. Please sign in at the attendance sheet, and please turn off your cell phones. The next regular meeting will be on July 11th at 7 p.m. July audit of claims meeting will be held on the third Monday, July 17th at 5:30 p.m. due to the 4th of July holiday. Executive session may occur this evening if deemed necessary. We have some correspondence from Herkimer County. Their Department of Highways notice to proceed rehabilitation of a portion of the Big Moose Road, County Road 1, from Higby Road northernly to end of the pavement. The project will begin June 12th. Traffic is expected to be maintained throughout the duration of the project with delays only. We had Don Hall on the agenda for tonight. He is not here tonight. Do you guys want to proceed with this, or would you rather wait and have him come to a possible audit of claims meeting on the 19th?
The 17th. I think I did talk to him on the phone today, and I think that it's important to do these actions for timing.
Okay, anybody else?
I just want to make sure I understand what we're, because you didn't make it up the last time either, so I'm not quite sure exactly, I guess officially what exactly we're voting on. Or it'd be nice to actually have a conversation.
Right. Did he describe the certification for you to being the official for the NEPA?
A little bit. I haven't talked to him in detail at all. We've had a 2-minute conversation on the phone.
Okay.
National Environmental Policy Act.
I know nothing about it.
Truthfully, I don't know what I'm signing right there when I sign that.
We need him to be here to explain this to us more in detail. I'm not comfortable.
We're going to try to do, we're thinking about an audit of claims meeting on June 19th.
Next week.
That would be next week. That would bring it up a little bit so that we had some more time.
Well, just ask him if he can do it then.
Yeah.
He had computer issues, that's what.
Yes.
And that's on Monday, I'm assuming.
Yes, it is.
So what do you need, a motion to not do it, or what do you need?
No, we don't need anything, just we could put it off till the 19th. We don't have to do anything, we don't have a motion on the table.
Got it.
So that'll be a 5:30 meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that all right?
I have no
Has to be
idea.
on that day.
But that's a Monday, that would be another audit.
So when you
Remember
pay,
how we have
We
our
pay the
first
bills
meeting?
that day.
Could it go to the following Monday?
Well, the thing is, we're trying to get him in as soon as possible because, well, and I don't even know if he can come this day, so why don't we just try that first. Okay, the highway appointment, on recommendation of our highway superintendent, Casey Crowfoot, to appoint Chantel Bergen as highway MEO effective 5/30/2023, subject to a 6-month probationary period. Do I have a motion?
I would love to make that motion.
Sounds good. Second?
I'll second it.
Any board discussion?
First woman to work for our highway. It's very cool. And she's going to be training, getting her certification for CDL,
Yes.
so good stuff.
Anyone else? Nancy, would you like to do a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Gardner,
Aye.
Councilman Greco,
Aye.
Councilman Green,
Aye.
Councilman Ross,
Aye.
Supervisor Baker.
Aye.
5 ayes.
Sewer District Surplus. The DPW Superintendent Scott Gaffney would like to declare the following items surplus and put out to Auctions International website. the new Quincy air compressor model 240 SN, the new Dayton electric motor part number 5K676BG, 230 volts and 22.0 amps. 2 used Quincy air compressors model 240 SN, 2 used Dayton electric motor part 5K676BG, 230 volts, 22.0 amps. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
I'll second it.
Second. Any board discussion? Would you like to do a
What's the reason for getting rid of them, no longer need them?
Yeah, they're extras.
And does he put some sort of a price on this
No.
stuff, or just?
No, it goes into the
Or
auction, yeah, they do. Auction it. Can you do a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Gardner,
Aye.
Councilman Greco,
Aye.
Councilwoman Green,
Aye.
Councilman Ross,
Aye.
Supervisor Baker,
Aye.
5 ayes.
Animal policy for town facilities. Whereas the town of Webb is the owner or occupant of several buildings and facilities within the town facilities, and whereas the facilities range from offices to park to athletic facilities, and whereas the town board finds that it is proper and appropriate for the protection of the town workforce and visitors to town facilities to establish an animal admission policy for all the town facilities. And whereas New York State Civil Rights Law Article 4B provides for situations where persons accompanied by guide dogs, hearing dogs, or service dogs may lawfully enter and remain upon private and public premises with the animals, and whereas the Webb Town Board finds that it is important to adopt and enforce an animal entry policy that is consistent with the state law. Now therefore it be resolved that the board authorizes and directs. Number 1, no dogs, cats, or other domestic pets or farm animals are allowed in town facilities except for guide dogs, hearing dogs, or service dogs as provided in the New York State Civil Rights Law. Number 2, the policy does not apply to the town's dog park. Number 3, that upon the adoption of this resolution, the town supervisor and town council are authorized to prepare, execute, and deliver such documents and instruments as are required to implement this resolution without further resolution of this board. Do I have a motion to adopt this resolution?
I'll make a motion to adopt it.
Second,
Second.
board discussion?
Yes, does this include town vehicles?
We already have a,
We already have that in effect.
Do we?
Mhm.
Quick question, does it also apply to any town property? So if I wanted to go walk my dog on the trails, I can't?
No. Facilities is what I'm
Facilities.
understanding. So
buildings and facilities.
I believe she said facilities and property.
To athletic parks, facilities, that's it. Buildings.
Any other board discussion on this?
So can someone who currently has a dog in an office then list it as a service dog and have it be able to remain?
They get qualified for it, yeah. I mean,
They have to be
they're
qualified.
Qualified to have it,
So they can change from a pet to a service dog because we changed the law, is my question.
well, it's,
I think it has,
if somebody gets the state recognition or the recognition as needing a service dog, you can't
Correct.
deny that. I mean, once they have the certification, you can't question that.
right,
as
I
far
think our
as
town
if
attorney
it's
said they
official.
have to have a doctor's thing of
It's gotta
why.
be a registered service dog.
Correct, and then
Yeah, if it's a registered
you have
service
to have a
dog,
reason to have
you
it.
can't
It's
stop
gotta
it.
be a registered service dog.
Correct.
Is that clear? Because it's important to me that, I mean, I would hate to see us do something here where they can't go on the town trails or take their dog for a walk down the lakefront here. Is that clearly stated here?
Right, because it does, well, no, it's facilities range from offices to parks,
Yeah,
to
park.
athletic facilities, so good point.
So I think that needs to be changed, that the
Facilities
parks
themselves.
thing makes it I think of buildings, inside buildings, or we already have for town vehicles, but
Yeah, I agree.
I mean,
Right.
we have a lot of town land here. You can't say they're not gonna take their dogs out on that. That's, I mean, crazy. So I think that, because it does make it questionable to me where that could be fought. Range from offices to parks
Oh, I see what you're saying right
to
there.
athletic facilities.
So get rid of the word parks,
I think parks has to get taken away, yeah.
gone.
Do I have to change my motion?
Athletic facilities stays in.
Offices, athletic facilities, and whereas.
Should say something
Okay.
about indoor, like inside these facilities. I mean, does that clear it up a little even more? That's the whole purpose of it, right?
Facilities range from offices.
Right, it could be inside athletic facilities.
Inside our facilities, which range from, town offices. Really, I mean, town buildings, you could just cover it all.
Buildings and facilities, so it covers it right there.
Put it just like something along the lines of inside.
Athletic facilities, so that would be fine. Just taking the
Sure.
parks out of it covers that thing. I mean, you could bring a dog to North Street if you want to,
It's not
not inside.
Because that's what you're trying to accomplish there, keeping up buildings.
Right. So can we just scratch that and
Take out parks.
yeah,
Yep, scratch.
Any more discussion?
well, this is coming from our insurance company, right? I mean, this is where this all
Yep.
started from.
Yes, it did.
Too much choice.
Okay, first-
We'll do a roll call vote.
Sure. Councilman Gardner,
Aye.
Councilman Greco,
Aye.
Councilwoman Green,
Aye.
Councilman Ross,
Aye.
Supervisor Baker,
Aye.
5 ayes.
BCA Amendment Number 3, it was tabled at the last meeting. A motion to continue the town's agreement with Amendment Number 3, additional service as follows. Seeker and funding assistance, MWBE compliance are being modified to increase compensation. This amendment amount is $25,052. Do I have a motion to accept the Amendment Number 3 for BCA for $25,052?
I like the motion.
Second?
Second.
Board discussion? Yes. Board discussion?
So we tabled this because of not being clear on what that amount was for. So do either you or Corey want
Corey
to
Reed?
just give a summary so that the public knows what the answer to that
Oh,
is?
the 25?
Yes.
So a lot of the funding, because we've gone after multiple funding at the wastewater treatment facility, our first funding application was in 2019 through WQIP. We submitted 2 applications. There is priority disinfection and general wastewater improvements. We were unsuccessful in 2019. 2020, with COVID, there wasn't any funding open that season. 2021, we reapplied for both WQIP for the disinfection and the general improvements. We received funding in 2021, received $1 million grant. 2022, last year, we also did, because we got monies for the disinfection, there were still general improvements at the wastewater treatment facility we wanted to do. So we submitted another WQIP, and along with that, a WE application as well. Remember, we did the bond resolution last year, so we could submit that application, and we completed seeker for the wastewater facility and the collection system. We were able to combine with that seeker, so it was one action for seeker that covered both on that. So that 25 was for the seeker and the funding and the bonding on that. And also what was added to that is the NEPA, the National Environmental Protection. With the current EPA grant that the town is looking to secure, they require a NEPA. So it's similar to New York State Seeker, but it's separate. So that's something we're working through right now to, one of the first things they said we want to get going is the NEPA. Hopefully, that can be a categorical exclusion. I filled out some initial paperwork and checked all the boxes, no, because it's not much of an impact. What we're doing, most of the project is within the building, and other than the disinfection, which is a new building, but it's not a negative impact to the environment. Actually, I believe it's a positive impact because we are providing disinfection to the effluent.
Okay,
It should
I
make
did read your email regarding that.
Yeah.
So, okay,
Yep.
that makes sense. Well, thank you, I just,
Yeah,
you know,
no.
when we tabled it, it's nice for people to know what it was
Yep.
about.
Any other questions? Can you do a roll call vote, please, Nancy?
Councilman Gardner,
Aye.
Councilman Greco,
Aye.
Councilman Green,
Aye.
Councilman Ross,
Aye.
Supervisor Baker,
Aye.
5 ayes.
Macaulay Mountain Deck. The board did receive a written Macaulay Mountain Chalet deck review from Web Engineering PC. It's recommended that the deck be taken out of service immediately. The board received quotes from Gene White for $5,000 for drawings and Wayne Beckingham for $5,000 for structural and engineering, with possible extra charges if we make changes. What's the pleasure of the board?
Well, I think that we have to move forward with it. We did reach out to other people too, or a couple other people. Got one other verbal quote that was a lot higher than what these are. I think that we need to move on this pretty quickly. I can't imagine us not having the deck for the winter, let alone for the summer, that which isn't gonna happen now. But I think that we have to start the process as soon as possible, so hopefully we can get this done and bid it out and try to see if we can find someone that can actually build it before winter time comes. So I'd like to make the recommendation too that we change the design of it a little bit and make it a full wraparound deck so that it actually goes around the whole thing. That way you have two accessible standpoints from the top, it becomes handicap accessible that way. And it doesn't have to be as wide on the sides, I don't think, but it's a natural progression for that deck, and that's the way it should be done. I'd also make the recommendation that we don't put stairs going down from the backside down to the bottom, just because, I don't know, I see it as a hazard in the wintertime with the ski boots and stuff like that, that if we have those two access points like that, it's not as big of a deal to come up through the stairs on the inside. But I can go either way on that one. I think the wraparound would be the right call.
I know it has been talked about quite a while ago, about a wraparound deck and different things to modify that.
This is the time to do it if we're gonna do it. I mean,
Oh.
so, and I don't think on the sides it necessarily has to be as wide, but I do think that, you know, having the back deck being the same size, so that's, can do that. That's my motion, yeah, but we can discuss that too, so. But sure.
I'll second your motion.
Second, okay. Any other discussion on that?
So we can, is this kind of declared an emergency kind of thing? And
Absolutely.
we can not really follow as many rules as normal? If
Well,
that makes any sense?
No, that's the whole reason we're doing it.
Yeah, and like the other one we got was a $22,000 quote, so it was a little bit higher.
Is that for replacement of it, or just the engineering and design?
Just the engineering and
That's the engineering and design.
So, that's available for the public to see, that whole
Mhm,
thing
absolutely.
from Wayne?
Yep.
If anybody wants to take a look at it, it's pretty disappointing to see how quickly it's deteriorated, but.
It can be foil.
Oh, it has to be foil?
I'm gonna do a roll call vote, please.
Councilman Gardner,
Oh, sorry, aye.
Councilman Greco,
Aye.
Councilman Green,
Aye.
Councilman Ross,
All right.
Supervisor Baker,
Aye.
Can I ask, what was the motion for exactly? Was it for the wraparound deck or just to approve the engineering? and-
Well, the motion should be
Engineering.
to approve these engineering, then we'll discuss with them.
Alright.
Okay, we invited Corey this evening to go over our funding that we're doing here now. Thank you, Corey.
Yes. I didn't know, do we want to start with our current wastewater project, where we stand with
That sounds great.
Yep. So we had opened up bids on May 25th. They were over budget, unfortunately. We had, I don't know if the board has seen all the bid results, but we had 2 bidders for the general contract, Seal Falter and Schultz. And then for the electrical contract, we had 1 bidder. Seal Falter was, approximately $2.5 million. And SC Spencer was just $290,000. So, opened those bids, and quite a surprise. I think multitude of factors, kind of the economy, the remoteness, and there's a lot of work out there. Contractors can pick and choose what they want, and unfortunately, we had one electrical contractor did submit a bid. We had another one in line, but he called the day before and said he wasn't bidding just because there's long lead times of electrical components, and he's too small to hold up and wait for those. He needs work immediately. So the current funding that we have for the treatment facility, there's $1 million grant secured through WQIP, and then the $1 million through EPA or Senator Gillibrand. With WQIP, there is a match with that $250,000, and also with the EPA, as we've had a few meetings with them, I believe they look at the most recent median household income of the town, and the most recent one is the 2021 American Community Survey, and lists the town's median household income of $93,500 something dollars. So with that, most likely the match will not be waived. So there's a match with that as well.
Is that 250 as well?
Was it 250? Yeah, it was 20%, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, it's possible that the match with WQIP can be used for both, so you don't have to have a double match of 250 and 250. But total project cost with contingency, legal, engineering, everything, we're looking at around a $3.5 million project. So there's about $1.5 million in loan. So we submitted, EFC has a state revolving fund program. EFC, we submitted a financing application last month to provide loan for the project. They provide short-term monies and then 30-year long-term monies for the town on that. When I say the short-term monies are used for construction, the WQIP money is a reimbursement program. So if a contractor submits a payment application of $100,000, you have to show payments made to him, and then that program would reimburse you. By having the short-term funding with EFC, they'll provide you the money for that, so you don't have to pull from another account. They'll provide you short-term financing. And then once the project is completed, there'll be a closing on that for the long-term monies for the 30 years. The percentage on that loan, because the project is a priority project for DEC, it scores fairly high. I think it's like 49 points. So I'm going to use some acronyms, but there's the intended use plan, or they call it the IUP, that lists all the projects in New York State, and there's a subsidized funding line. And right now, the town's project is above that subsidized funding line, which means you get the subsidy rate. Essentially, half the loan is 0% and half the loan is market rate. So right now, market rate's around 4%. So ideally, we're looking at around a 2.5% 30-year loan. So much better than the market rate. If we were having this conversation a year or two ago, it'd probably have been below 2%. But as rates have gone up, that market rate has, so it's going to be right around 2.5%.
Does it fluctuate though as the market rate changes, or does it get locked in?
Once we get locked in, so it still fluctuates right now. It takes EFC, they said about 2 to 3 months to process to close on that. But once we get to that, then it'll be locked in. So if that rate goes up, it won't be affected. If it goes down, it'll take the lower of the amount for the long-term loan, but it won't go up once we get a contract with EFC on that. With the EPA grant, so after we had opened bids on May 25th, we had finally a Zoom call with the EPA. As we got going through, I had mentioned we opened bids up the day before, and they were surprised by that and asked a few things if in the bidding documents included, BABA. I don't know if people heard the acronym BABA. It's Buy America, Build America. It's about to use American products and stuff. And I'd mentioned I'll have to check, and I said we didn't have the BABA requirements in the bidding documents. And there's a few other ones in there. There's a rights to inventions, a few documents that EPA needed. So the last couple of weeks I've been working with the EPA trying to say, I don't really want to bid this project out again, because that was the first thing, well, just bid the project out and put the documents in there. I talked with our apparent low bidders for both contracts, showed them some documentation, and they were fine adding that via change order into their contract. So we have no problem with that. We'll hold our price if we just add it through. I've gone back and forth with the EPA to say we can do that. I just found out today at around 4 o'clock, they emailed me and said they checked with legal one more time, and to make sure it's open and fair bidding, these had to be included in the bidding documents. And as we further went through it, they said should have had given them the bidding documents prior to even advertising the bid in March, so they could review everything ahead of time. And Robin's done a great job to get us the contact information. I wish we could have had that Zoom meeting a month prior to that, but to get the contact and everyone's, and it happened to be at the time and didn't have those documents. So they gave two alternates. So we can rebid the project, or there could be a technical waiver or something they had to use that money for another project, is what they had mentioned. Obviously, the wastewater treatment facility, we still have to do the disinfection project because that's a mandate by DEC to be up and running May 1st, 2024. So that definitely still needs to move forward with the project. I talked to low bidders about rebidding the project. Obviously, they said they would bid on the project again. Obviously, their number is known by other contractors now, but they had all intentions when I talked to them that they would still bid on the project. Could numbers change? Yes, they don't have to hold their prior numbers by any means. Maybe there'd be some more interest from other contractors. I'm not sure. But the one thing I do know is that with that May 1st deadline, we need to take action fairly quick because there's some long lead items in there. If we took more than a month to get this back out to bid, that May 1st deadline is even quicker coming. But I did talk with manufacturers. I mean, there's still, if we could get this back out to bid and open bids in the next month period, there still should be time that we can meet that May 1st deadline that we have from DEC. And my next conversation with DEC that if we did need to move that date a little bit, if we're under construction, hopefully they'd be willing to give us some favorability if we didn't quite meet that May 1st deadline. But let's see as we move forward what happens with that. Maybe we should be able to meet that May 1st deadline the way things are looking at right now.
So Corey, how long would it take your office to get the bid documents ready to go back out? I'd like to say I can have it next week. Reaching out to EPA, they sent me a few documents today as far as what to include, and I asked, is this everything? I haven't got a reply back yet, but this is my top priority to get these documents back in to EFC. And the other question I asked, so EPA reviewed the bidding documents. I don't know if they did it the whole part, or if they want to take a look at it again. And that's the timeline I'm not sure. But Christine with the EPA, I emailed her and I also called her after she sent the email to see if I could catch her. I wasn't able to. But that's going to be, she understands the priority of this to try to move forward as quickly as we can. But if it's just a few documents I have to put in on the front end, similar like EFC has a bidding packet, the terms and conditions we just put in there has all the requirements. EPA doesn't seem to have the same packet, but she gave me some examples of other projects. So I'm hoping it's just a 2 or 3 page, put in the bidding documents and we'll be ready to go.
So you guys do that and then they have to review it before we can act on it to put it out to bid, or?
She's recommending that they review it just to make sure. The one thing she said is, I don't want to get in, you do the bid open again and review, and there be something that's not correct, and then we have to, use the money for something else. So I would say at this point, we definitely want EPA. I'll put it together and then hopefully they can do a quick review on that and get concurrence and out to bid. I did have a brief conversation or email with legal counsel. The minimum amount of days to have a project out to bid is 5. It's got to be 5 days between the bid advertisement and the bid opening. My thoughts are, the contractors that bid on the project, the plans aren't changing. All the plans we had, it's just the front end documents. It's the battery requirement, which EFC has a waiver for SRF funding projects. And just like I said, there's some control work hours, if contractors debarment or suspension, rights of inventions, and some anti-lobbying stuff. It's all similar to what we have in there now, but it's the federal version of it. But yeah.
So this changed since we started this project?
What's that?
The stuff that we have to deal with now, that's changed since the beginning of this project?
Yes, we had.
We're getting screwed around here pretty heavily.
So when it changed, I guess, so in November of last year, we had submitted everything to EFC. We had concurrence from DEC on the projects, this and everything else. The town received, I think it was November, from EPA that, hey, you're getting this award, $1 million. And from that point to here, Robin and myself looking to see, okay, what are the requirements? I was on a few, I think Robin, you were as well, some of the Zoom calls or scheduled meetings they had that kind of gave an overview of everything. And then when the procurement policy, when we had that meeting after the bid opening, that's when at least I was made aware of all the things that are supposed to be in the bidding documents, and that's where I tried saying, well, we can add it by change order, but they don't want to do that. So, so some of the things did change.
I mean, at the rate it's going, there's no way we're going to make that deadline in my world.
Every day that
4 or 5 years we've been working on this, and it's not going very well.
Every day that it goes, we're getting close to that deadline. So the quicker that we can get this reviewed, get the bidding docs together, EPA reviewed and out to bid, the better hospital will stand on that.
And all these things it's not even speaking of the fact that we don't even have enough money to do it. We got to borrow, what'd you say, $1.5 million?
About $1.5 million, right? Yeah.
With the 250 match.
I will say, a lot of the funding programs out there, some are 25% match. You see a lot of times. Now, the one funding I'd like to go after this year, the Water Infrastructure Improvement Act, we submitted last year for the general improvements for WIA, but now that we have bid results for the disinfection system, we can go after the WIA again. And being that it's a project that's moving forward, and we actually have bid hard results, it's not an estimate, I think we'd have a good chance of getting some additional grant funds. The WIA pays 25% of eligible costs, so out of that $1.5 million, you're in that $300,000+ range of additional grant that we could add to the project to help take hopefully that 1.5 down to 1.2, a little bit more. So I hope to get some more information from the EPA. One of the next steps, probably would be we'd have to reject the current bids
that we have. If that's the direction we want to go, is to rebid this out, it seems like that's what EPA is telling us to do. You have to reject the current bids, and then we'd have to look at a new bid opening date. Like we had an advertisement for bid that we sent out before, so we'd have a new bid opening date, and then we'd have to have it into the local newspaper as a bid advertisement. Like I said, then it'd be 5 days after that's published in the paper, 5 days, and you can have a bid opening.
So let's do it.
You think because we added that Headworks in there that they're kind of shy in helping us fund this thing, or what? I mean, they told us we have to do this disinfection, but we thought, I mean, through figuring this all out.
They
the
had
Headworks
added
was-
more UV, right, lights?
We had to add, yes, we had to add a total of 8 more bulbs to UV to satisfy
Which they
EFCSA.
okayed initially.
Yeah, DEC said everything, they reviewed the documents 2 years ago because we had everything on the UV disinfection, all the plans ready to go. And then when we got the WQIP, we maximized the grant of the 1 million because we tailored, said if we could make the Headworks improvements, the effluent quality is going to be better, so you can get better disinfection. So if we hadn't added the Headworks, we wouldn't have maximized the $1 million grant because the UV system was less than $1 million. By the bid results, by Falter, we actually had a line for UV disinfection. I think it was 700,000 and change. And so they would have looked at that, and 75% of that value is the maximum they would have given for a grant.
So we can't change our minds and go back to just using the amount of that $1 million that we need for the disinfection at this point?
Correct. We couldn't just pull the Headworks out. If we pulled the Headworks out, funny is you'd probably look at the grant they gave you because it was for disinfection and Headworks and probably descale it.
Okay.
Which I think it is important that we do the Headworks. It just helps the whole thing.
Yeah, the Headworks. I mean, right now some of the screens, when you have high flow events, it's getting bypassed. So you're getting some grits and rags that get back into the system where you don't want it. So this is one of the first steps to get that out, and then there's obviously other improvements we want to do at the wastewater plant, but we need funding to do that. So yeah, I think it's definitely beneficial for sure.
Do you have an update on or want to talk about the northern border
Yes. Yep.
grant?
So on the collection system, so we did an I&I study that identified, basically 6 areas of concern. We actually had televising. A little remote control unit went up, took pictures, looked at cracks, offset joints, and different pipe sizes. So we just submitted the Northern Border Grant. So this grant system, it's New York State, Maine, Vermont, but New York State gets a certain allotment from that. So we chose, out of the areas of concern, the Pullman Ave, which all wastewater flows through. If that ever went down, everyone in the system is affected. The other 2 areas that we looked at that added to the grant for replacement, section, the Adirondack Bank section from 28. Right now, the sewer goes through the basement, and it goes from an 8-inch to a 6-inch, and I think a 4. Definitely not what you want. And then the other area we have is the Lakeview Ave and South Shore Road. That's where the medical complex for housing, I believe, is being looked to build. And Northern Border likes to, they like to see job creation or retention, some economic stuff. So we're able to try to mirror with these improvements, maintaining the current economy as is. With Pullman Ave going down, everyone's affected. Everyone would probably have to shut down if anything would happen there. And also with the medical building there, to try to sell it, if you will, that these are key improvements that we have in the system that will promote
hopefully more jobs, retention of current jobs, and expansion, hopefully economic development in the system.
Did housing come into play? Did they, adding the housing behind?
Housing was in there as well. Yeah, just added that housing is a big need for the town as well. So, so all in all, it was a total project cost about $1 million, and we're asking from Northern Borders $750,000 in grant. So it's basically that, 75% grant we're asking for. And why do we pick the $1 million? Northern Border doesn't have lots of grants, but looking back at past award winners, there were some others that were able to make improvements to their collection system, and that seemed to be right in a good spot as far as what we're asking for. There wasn't too many other projects that got a lot more money unless they were building a microchip complex or something like that. So that was submitted a couple weeks ago, and the grant announcements should be in August, so we shouldn't have to wait too long to see if that's a possibility. But I feel good about this one. We worked with Mohawk Economic Development there, got some endorsement letters to help hopefully push this through to the end and receive some
So I
grant.
have a question about that. I had asked, we did some resolutions over the last couple of months, and we bonded for the wastewater treatment plant, and we did seeker for both the plant and the collection system, but it was my understanding that we did not bond for the collection system. So how are we applying for grants if we didn't bond for that? I thought that was part of the requirement.
No, for Northern Border, you don't need a bond resolution for that. The WE application, the Water Infrastructure Improvement Act, that is one funding application where you need a bond resolution, or you don't have to have a bond resolution if you have internal funds that are going to be used for match. That's the only program that I'm aware of where you actually, to submit a funding application, they actually need a bond resolution to show how you're going to pay for another month. So in Northern Border, a bond resolution wasn't required. Now, if we wanted to submit a WE application for the collection system, then we would have to do a bond resolution to be able to submit on that. And I think at that time, I think the idea was focus on the wastewater treatment facility, that project, and then look at the collection system after we get that funded and taken care of. The only thing, if we were looking at the collection system, we're planning on submitting a WE application for the $1.5 million loan at the treatment facility, you'd have two applications kind of competing it with each other. Could they fund both? Yes, they could. More than likely, probably they would not, fund both the collection system and the treatment facility at the same time. I believe the treatment facility, because it scores higher point score, has a higher probability of receiving grant funds from WE at this point in time.
So I honestly, I didn't know that that's what the Northern Border application was for. I don't know if the other board members were aware that it was for collection. I thought we were concentrating on the wastewater treatment plant, so that's not been conveyed to us.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, Corey, but when we started this whole mess with sewer, it's been a lot of years now, but we did this I&I study before we got told that we had to do the disinfection, if I'm not mistaken.
The I&I came out in 2020.
Oh, that was in 2020? Mm-hmm. For some reason, I was thinking that we were
Was
so concerned about doing the I&I and finding all the little problems in town, and then all of a sudden we got told, oh, we got to upgrade our sewer plant. And then we kind of focused on that, because that was a lot of money to do that, and we had to do it. Mm-hmm. So we kind of shifted and went towards, all right, we have to get the sewer plant, the disinfection system done. I don't know, it's been a long time, and it's been a lot of things happening, so.
I think it happened hand in hand, because I came on in 2020, and the I&I study was already being moved forwards. And
Don Hale was on the board.
And also the disinfection that we had to do down there was already moving forwards then, so I think that it was pretty close to the same time.
Yeah, I think
So-
the town first received the letter from DEC mandating disinfection. I think it was in that 2019 timeframe, because that's when we first submitted, I think, a WQIP to try to get money for that. So it wasn't too far off.
It had to be pretty close, because
Right.
when I came on the board, it was both those projects
Both
were
were
already
going.
in motion.
Right.
It took me a little bit to get caught up on them.
Yep.
So
Yep. I mean, there is other funding for the collection system that we could go after. So mentioned the WIA, Northern Border. Like I said, hopefully we can hear back on that this August. There is some WQIP funding similar to what we're going after the treatment facility. I've got a phone call into those people because it's more oriented, I believe, for treatment plants than actual collection systems. It's very open. I mean, this is the CFA book right here that have all that stuff in there. So it is a question I have that I can, once I get the answer, I can email the board and let you know on that. I think we had talked about before, there's Empire State Development Funds out there as well. That's through the CFAs, the Consolidated Funding Applications. Their biggest thing is usually job creation, retention. There's 4 or 5 pages that go into detail about that. If we were thinking about doing any of that, the first thing they recommend is to have a call with them to talk about the funding and the project, and then they will guide to think, well, we think it does fit or doesn't fit. But that would be my suggestion, is that to have a phone call to talk about that with them, is I strongly recommend. So I could set that up if you want, or
That sounds great.
okay.
Sounds like we need all hands on deck for all funding from
Right.
every
So,
aspect. Right.
so in your opinion, Corey, as far as looking for money, every avenue has been being researched. We're not missing.
Yeah.
I'm
so-
going to go with the sewer plant right now for that project.
Right.
We aren't missing anything.
No, I mean, the one I didn't mention, the Community Development Block Grant, that's potential up to $1 million in grant you can have. If you have a co-funding with another funding agency, you can get about $1,250,000. But to be eligible to submit on that program, you have to be 51% or over low to moderate income. And that would require an income survey.
So that, I don't mean to interrupt you, but that income survey that showed $90,000 is within our sewer system collection? So why does that?
No.
Those are the people that would pay this. I don't understand why we're looking at that broader.
They look at the median income that they put out from the,
Well, that's
what
great if
study?
the lakefront people were paying towards
Correct.
our sewer collection system. That's unfair.
yeah, it's unfair all the way
Yeah, so
around.
they use either the townwide, which is the 93,000, that's for 2021, and then even there's a census designated place for the hamlet, and that 2021 is the same as the townwide, the 93,000 and change. Prior to that, the 2019, which current funding is still looking at 2019, we were just, I believe, the hamlet of Old Forge actually met the 51% low to mod, but because the sewer district doesn't exactly match the hamlet of Old Forge, CDBG requires an income survey. I spoke with CDB, Charlie Fillion is the program director, and they're extremely strict. I think there is 2 or 3 spots where the hamlet of Old Forge doesn't match the sewer district, and because of that, I know it seems small, CDBG requires an income survey for the exact sewer district by itself. We've had that in other towns and villages we've worked with, and yeah, they will pick it out if it doesn't match exactly to the sewer district it has.
Pat, did you want to say something?
Yeah, you had spoken to me about that before, so I sent that to your phone. The guy's name is Jeff Glockenbush.
Okay.
He has the GIS information. He does the work for Herkimer County and Oneida County.
Okay.
And I think he can give you a lot of census information. If he can't, then you'll have to find something else.
Okay, thank you.
He's very good.
Thank you.
I believe, Robbie, you'd reached out to Jeff, right? You want to?
Well, I don't remember the exact words in his email, but it did seem like, the information he provided was not gonna be helpful for us.
Yeah, he looked at the district and the hamlet and said, yes, it doesn't exactly match, and concurred with, the median household income that was presented.
So do you think that we should go ahead and try to get the income survey done? Will it benefit us? It sounds like it could.
Yes. So if an income survey was done and it showed that you're 51% low to mod, you would be eligible to submit a funding application for CDBG. Also, what that would help for future funding, EFC and a lot of other programs look at median household income, because that's where they say, okay, what can the residents afford? Do we give more grants so it comes down, or can they afford $900 a year for water, $900 a year for sewer? So that is a pretty key component that most funding agencies will take a look at. Rural development uses median household income. Typically they'll use like either 1.7% or 1.8% to kind of narrow down how much people should be paying for water or sewer. EFC uses that number as well.
It also affects the interest rates too, right?
Yes. So if your project scores high enough and you're below 80% of the New York State average income, you can be eligible for hardship financing, which is 0% financing. But if your project scored high enough, but your median household income is over that threshold, then you're not eligible to get hardship financing more than 0%. So yes.
This is not new news to the board. We have all heard this. Don Hall told us repeatedly to do that income survey, and we didn't do it. And we also heard about the hardship and that sort of stuff. So I'm not sure what we're waiting for.
Now, I was getting another, last year I did have, we don't do income surveys, but there's a sub G&G. He did submit a proposal. I believe it was just short of $19,000 to do the survey. And then, one of the thoughts, if there's any, the water system too needs some work and rehab here and there. So I wanted to get a proposal so he could do an income survey of the sewer system and then add Fendera as a separate one so that it could be utilized, the income survey could be used both for sewer and for water, and then for other projects as well. If the town ever wanted, I'm sure you've heard about the downtown revitalization incentives that people are getting. That income survey works for that. So if it came in, below the 93,000, that's only going to help with the projects. The one thing about the income survey for most funding agencies, it's good for 5 years. It's actually 3 years, and then you can get an extension for 2, but it's good for 5 years. So if you're moving forward with one, you want to make sure you're submitting for all the applications you can to get the best for that income survey. So with that, if we knew how many connections are in Fendera, I could get that information and we could have a revised proposal for an income survey that could do both, or if we just wanted to stick with the sewer district, we could do that as well.
I think probably why we haven't done it, and this is just me speaking out loud here, is with all the things that's been going on with the sewer and the water, steamboat and sewer and the plant and everything, it doesn't have any money, so how to spend another $20,000 is, it might be worth it to get more money, but we just haven't had the money in the.
So I do have a question,
comes out of the district.
something that came up today, and I didn't really realize this, that according to the state comptroller's office, you're only allowed to bond out a certain amount in that district. We're bonded at over $1 million right now. I don't know what that level is. I'll call tomorrow and find out. But that's another thing we need to look at, that you're only allowed to bond a certain amount.
Per district. So does the sewer district have to pay for the income study then?
Yes.
So, unless you have the water, then maybe they can split it. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I don't know all the all the,
County
yeah,
split.
the legal implications. I mean, part of me would think if the income survey could be used for multiple different things, that maybe would open up, unless,
A couple different places where money could be pulled from.
right, would be my thought. It's not only used for sewer, but it can be used for, buildings, community development. CDBG has other programs for housing and a whole bunch of other things that it can be utilized for.
So it seems like we should at least get an estimate so we know what it would cost to do both.
Well,
18,000
we had,
is the proposal.
But that didn't include Bandera with the water district too. You're saying that there'd be a benefit to possibly doing that as well. So we should at least know what that. So we have a decision to make, right? So we're not just basing it on one thing.
Correct.
Don has some information, too. Since we're paying him, we can use him.
Great. Anything else you want to talk to us about, Corey?
Let's put it bed. No, I guess, like I said, if, I don't know if the town wants to reject the current bids for the project, or if you want to consult with the town attorney as far as how to do that. But like I said, I'm gonna move forward and get everything together to EPA as quick as I can to get their blessing, and then we'll bid out again.
We just need a regular resolution to not accept those bids.
It seems like if we wait, we'll have to wait another month just to do
Right.
that, then it won't much. A month.
any way we look at it, we can't use those bids, right?
Not getting the $1 million grant from EPA, correct?
Right.
Right, so.
So I'll make a motion that we do not accept the bids.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Great.
Onward.
Again. Okay, we're going to go to the board to talk now. We'll be hitting the members of assembly in a few minutes.
We're gonna reject the bids. Do we wanna do anything about going to bid now? You wanna wait?
I think we're gonna have to wait
Okay.
for that until we know,
Okay.
and then, I
Do you
don't
wanna
know,
wait farther?
can have a special meeting if we need to.
Okay.
We are gonna meet next, on the 19th, it sounds like, so if it helps, next Monday.
I did want, before we go to the board, I wanted to ask Pat Russell if he had anything he'd like to.
Well, there's a couple things. The
Thank you
county,
for coming.
county is being sued by both New York City and a group of hotel owners in the southern part of the state because, as other counties did, Herkimer County made an executive decision through the chairman to not allow migrants, illegal migrants, to be able to be housed in the hotels and motels. So we have 2 lawsuits going on with that. It won't be, the executive position won't be done again to not allow it. And then I was told last week that the county legislature is going to be doing a bed tax. And they expect that to be done in July. It won't be worked on until November at the state level. They expect to be getting their information in July, and as of right now, they have no purpose for the money and no.
We have a purpose.
And no
Not gonna use it.
and no way of sharing any. Just so you know. So that means.
So the county's gonna collect it, but the county's not gonna
Yep.
share it with any other municipality that it takes.
We're probably
We're
about
not, and we're the biggest
70% of it.
municipality that's gonna
How
get
much
it.
are we-
86%.
Hey, there we go.
86%. So who do we call about that?
Well, we're gonna have to sit down and have some meetings with the one committee, that's Bob Hollins, you know Bob.
Yep.
And he's the majority leader bringing it forward, and then it goes through my committee, Ways and Means. But apparently there are enough votes to get it through the legislature. That's what I'm told.
But they don't have anything drawn up specifically.
No, there's nothing drawn up, there's no plans on how to use it. There's no distribution formulas.
So, go back to the motels deals. How do those motels get paid for all those people staying in there?
Apparently New York City was gonna pay them.
to cart them there and to feed them and all that stuff, all comes through.
Well, that part I don't know, but.
I mean, we can't even get money for our sewer plant, we're paying for that, huh? It's kind of like that.
But, you know, the lawsuit was on constitutional grounds and some other grounds, and we think they would win it.
Thank you. For all the great news. Okay, Kurt?
Macaulay Mountain master plan's coming along. You know, we're still getting the numbers in, but we are getting real numbers in, so we're getting pretty close to hopefully putting together a nice PDF package so that the community can look at it and give input, and the board can look at it and give input. But we have received quotes from the chairlift. We have received some quotes from snowmaking. They're looking at, because the pipes, the lines going through the ground were put in 1985. They're saying that they're probably at the point of being replaced too. So they're looking into what that might be. But we're getting some real numbers together to at least have the conversation now. So we're hopefully in the next month we'll be able to have a real conversation, exactly what that is, but it's a lot of money. So I'll say that. Macaulay Mountain had the NICA bike race up there this weekend. It's a high school race for, and there was probably about 700 people up there, 300 riders almost. If anybody got a chance to see it, it was pretty amazing. Well staffed, well run. I thought it was great, you know. They come fully self-prepared and contained. They have their own EMS, they have, I mean, all the stuff. They still would have to rely on stuff if something went wrong, but yeah, I'll tell you what, I went up there and I spent a couple hours walking around. I talked to a lot of people, you know, and it brought families from all over New York State and even Pennsylvania and Vermont that had never been here before. And, you know, they were all saying like, wow, this is amazing. They love the fact that it's connected to town. A lot of them were saying they were going to come back again this summer. And so it was probably the best billboard we could ever ask for as far as advertising the mountain bike trails we have here in our town, our community. So, you know, it brought all these kids there. So it was a championship race. So it was quite an honor to have them do the championship race here. We've only had the trails for 4 years, and now they decided to have that here out of all the trails that we do it in New York State. I thought that was pretty cool. So, let's see. And then I talked to Chuck with Snowmobile Trails. Everything's going good in the trails. He's replaced some culverts and normal stuff out there, but you know, just getting things together. But he did mention that the covered bridge over here does need some love and needs to be restained, or something needs to be done with it. So he just told me that a little while ago. So that's just something for us to keep in our head with that. The Wattis Foundation has a $250,000 grant that's coming up here soon. I've been talking with Live in ADK about it. I really would like us to apply for the Cement Foundation for the hockey rink through that grant.
Ask them if we can use it for wastewater treatment.
So I guess I would like to have the board's permission to pursue that grant process for that.
You have mine.
That's that game changer grant.
I would like to know where the cement's gonna go first.
Well, the cement can go either place, so it doesn't matter. We have 2 locations that basically could go in, so that hasn't
I don't
changed.
think we decided on that
But-
yet.
I'd hate to pass up the opportunity for the $250 for the foundation that needs to go
So-
regardless of where we're putting it.
But they want the grant monies used, because when Tom did that, you have to use them in X amount of time, right?
Yeah, no,
So-
we'll have to make a decision coming up where that's gonna go.
Pat, you wanted to say something
Yeah,
about that?
I was just chatting with Mike about the rooms. He thinks it might be lower than 86%, but we know that the occupancy rate would be much higher.
Okay, thank you.
And yeah, also, I went up to that because the county put money into those trails, and they said it was the best downhill part that they've been on. So it says a lot for what the town and the county did together.
Thank you.
It is a huge property.
And then,
So I'm hung up on the grant. How do we apply for the grant when we don't have a plan in place for it? I mean, and I'm not trying to be
No,
a
we
wise
want-
guy, we don't have any kind of plan, so
Right.
we,
I'm with you. Sorry, Kurt, but
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
whatever you
hearing
guys want to do. I just, I know that we thought, we all agreed, we voted on buying boards for it. We talked about the 2 location it is there. I'm not saying it has to go in one or the other at this point, but we know that it's going to go in one or the other because that's the only 2 places it fits. So, to turn down this opportunity,
that's
That
not
they-
what I'm saying, I'm literally asking the question, how do you apply without a plan? How, they'll accept that, we know we're gonna put it somewhere, we
Yeah,
just
I mean,
want
I have
the
basically
money.
almost everything done. It's just I'm waiting for the last bit of information for the foundations. Because if we're going to pour the cement, if we are talking about possibly putting a roof on it one day down the road, at that time we should also pour the footers. And I'm waiting on the footer information as far as, is it 10 feet, is it 14 feet? So I have the prices on everything except for physically what those footers would be. And Dave Kleps is very close to having that information. He's been working on that. And
Does that matter depending on which location it's at?
it doesn't. Well, you have to drill holes to prove it, but essentially there's still a threshold of snow load to whatever. So it's about 14 feet, I think, is what roughly
so
speaking.
you're
it's-
looking at a cement floor for this. What about the things you're talking about to cool it?
So so the chillers would be put in with a cement floor at the same time.
Oh.
So that you would put just the 2, but we wouldn't be able to. There wouldn't be enough money to do the chiller and everything. But in theory, the idea would be to be able to put the piping into the ground at the same time as we're doing all that, and the insulation, and have everything there so that we're not. If you're going to do it, you're going to do it right. It's got to be done that way.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then that way, as things move forwards and the funding becomes available, we can actually keep building it the proper way.
And unfortunately, it is different when it comes to the grants that we're talking about here versus the recreation grants. I mean, it's pretty clear they're dropping those out left and right now.
So isn't it more important to get the grant for the coolers first?
No, because
That's how you
once
do
you
it.
get the cement down, then you can put the boards up and run it without coolers. I mean, you can start skating right away on it, just like a regular ice skating rink. But then as soon as the money comes in for the chillers, then you just hook literally the pads there. It's just they come in,
Oh,
they drop.
that's what I'm saying. That you don't have deck pads and stuff, so that has to be bought.
Correct. Yeah, that's all part of that budget. I'm going to show you guys here soon.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you're
I can show you that part.
Okay.
No, I just don't. I'm waiting to have the
a little
whole
lost
picture
there.
because cement expensive. So I mean, to say oh, it might be this much. I mean, what I'm finding out is that's completely wrong every time I think when it comes to materials like that. It's crazy out
But
there.
when you phase it out,
Right. So everything would be a phased out project. The first thing we need to accomplish
More likely to
is
give you more
a
grants.
foundation. And so once the foundation goes on, skating can start with those boards. It's done. And then hopefully we'd get another grant or get funding somehow. Then the chiller goes in. If everybody's game for the roof and the funding becomes available down the road, I don't think it's going to happen right away, but I think that we can phase this in. And with that grant, I think that you'll see when I do the numbers, I think there is a possibility of pulling that off where we could start skating a lot sooner than later if we won that grant.
then you're essentially asking for permission just to put it together to go after that grant.
Yeah.
All that other stuff comes along. It's the same one that the Wattis Foundation went to the rec center for. They gave us $133,000. Wasn't a match, wasn't anything. And that's the conference that Dan Keefe and I attended a month ago, where they made it very clear, make sure you guys apply for this grant. It's something that would help out more than just the kids and youth around, just the economy itself. And that's what they're trying to give the money to. And we relayed that to Kurt. What we try to do. Erin Hamill was there, and she said the same thing. And I understand we're trying to figure out what's the plan, where do we put it. I think Kurt is just trying to get permission to put that together before we actually put the application in, because it is a September deadline. That's when the spot is.
I'll have the numbers done here within the next few weeks. I'm just literally at work. I'm just down to. People are doing a lot of stuff for free, essentially, for us, and not charging to do all the engineering part of it that you would normally get charged for. So there's a lot of people that are helping out with the budget process. At least they're not guaranteeing that they're going to do it. They're lending their expertise. So I have to kind of be a little flexible with their time on that. So just because we haven't spent any dime planning that out, other than the boards at this point. So I do think it would be a big benefit, and
For sure.
they're asking for us to apply. I mean, they're so kind of feel like we should.
Yeah.
So
So we should plan a meeting in the near future. to talk about this and have Scott and Stevie present
Yeah.
for the conversation.
So why don't we plan on that for the audit of claims, right? Can we do it at that
On the
meeting?
19th?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'll present whatever I have at that point in place.
Sounds
And then we can have the discussion.
One day.
Well, we can wait till
Yeah.
the later audit. Do we need to do it like next week?
Yeah, whatever. I mean,
Let's do
that's-
it in July then, if that's all right.
so-
So we're gonna have that meeting even if Down Hall can't come.
The
Well,
June
that's the only
19th
thing
one?
that's the only thing we're waiting for. It's Juneteenth, so he's, it is a
Oh,
holiday for some, so.
So July 17th?
17th.
Sorry, I forgot that I was still speaking. I'm good. That's good.
Thank you, Kurt. Tommy?
I just want to start by saying like the infrastructure stuff and the wastewater treatment plant. I went over to talk with Alex and Eric at the wastewater treatment plant. I'm trying to get more educated with Scott. We met with him the other day for an hour. Barb was there. And I've been on the board for a year and a half, and it's a lot to all take in. So when I'm quiet about it, not talking about it, it's because I'm just trying to learn and get more educated on the whole thing. I can't expect to take all this stuff in, but I want it to be known. I have 2.5 years left. It definitely is a priority of mine because we all know what's coming. I mean, it's been talked about quite a bit. Scott has made it very clear that this burst is popping, and I don't have the answers right now, but I'd certainly like to see if we can get all hands on deck to try and figure it out. And get something in the ground instead of them just doing these Band-Aids all the time, because that's all that seems to be getting done right now. And again, I'm just trying to figure that whole part out when it comes to that stuff. The other thing we have in here, I know some people have been asking about the rec director and filling Jackie's position and all that, and Kurt and I have been working on it. We've kind of been given the go ahead to provide a description to the rest of the board and see if this is the route we want to go. It's looking like we might be going on a recreation manager, position, and to have that person be in charge of, McCauley Rec Center, certain events, and then right below that is what would be, I kind of think a programs director, activities director, and they kind of work together. The rec manager position would be full-time, and they would be going back and, most time spent helping McCauley up there and Stevie U. And then the director would be in charge of, the actual programs, almost like what Jackie did. So that would be that position, and then there'd be that full-time position above that. And we already have those budgeted for, so it's not like it's an added thing, but it's important to me because, we're finding out that, these June weekends can be a little slower, and this past weekend, that mountain bike thing up there was super busy, and I just think there's more and more stuff going on that needs to be attended to, and not having these positions filled, at least by the winter, I think would be pretty difficult for us to manage all that. When it comes to like hockey and putting tournaments in the rec center and stuff like that, we need to have those positions filled and stuff, especially helping up Stevie U up there. He made it very clear, and Bonnie's made it very clear. We got to help that guy out, and I think we're going to hopefully get that done by July. That description put in place so we can get that advertised. The other thing is the transfer station. Just a couple of things that we're trying to get at. Barb's talked about and worked together on the window clings and such. The current laws from 2012. It hasn't been really enforced lately. I know it's tough for some people to think about. Changing back to how it's supposed to be enforced. But we budget for $235,000 a year for the hauling and giving, to drop in Oneida at Herkimer County to take that waste and recycling on. In April, this past April, in just the hauling, not what we paid on Oneida Herkimer County, it was $4,400 we spent just on hauling everything down. There was 13 runs, $335 a haul to bring our garbage and our solid waste and recycling down to the United Herkimer County. So we were looking into some things to kind of help that out right now before we update with the window clings that, it just says it's for Town of Webb residents, taxpayers, or the tags for the short-term rentals. We're trying to update that whole system. But for now, we didn't want to overwhelm the guys that are up there now, and we're just going to do The C&D, we gotta get back to doing the 55 gallons.
32, Scott said.
32.
32 gallon.
Yeah, so the 2 a day. We had talked about, we gotta have, there's 2 guys up there working right now. It's just too much for them to deal with these dump trucks and trailers and all sorts of stuff that are just bringing all this C&D up there. So for now, we're really trying to get them to crack down on that. And I know it'll be tough for some contractors and stuff to deal with that, but something's got to be done. We're spending so much money up there, and people are coming from out of town, and it's tough to deal with. Other than that, we have the rec center floor was trimmed again. It should be, as it starts to set a little bit more, we should be able to get some pickleball in there. I know there's some picklers that have been wanting to use that. It kind of went away with Jackie, so hopefully we can get them back in there by winter time. And then there's cameras in there now, and we have to replace the door. We got solid door coming up. They're gonna come check that out because we got to get that done to get the key fob on the door there.
Where's the camera go to?
There's 2 cameras right now. Taz Communications did it, so it's not. He's got to get with the guy that did the Wi-Fi there. He just did it last Monday. Hooked it up. So we went and just did 2 for now. He threw in 1 for free to have more coverage, and hopefully we budget for more of that going into next year to provide more coverage.
That's all inside the building?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but yeah,
They're just running all the time?
Yeah. Yep.
Anything else, Tom?
I think that's it.
Thank you very much, Barbara.
Sit back. Actually, I hand wrote, so it looks like a lot because my computer's broken, so it's not that much because I write big. I had my monthly school meeting with Rex and Diane, and they did ask when we would be replacing the recreation director. And I told them that we're currently working, as Tommy just told you, and it'll essentially be a new position incorporating Macaulay needs into it. And I told them that we hope to hire by the end of summer, so I think we're on the same wavelength with that. Graduation is going to be held again at North Street, and arrangements are being handled by Nancy Russell. The SRO, Trevor is going to be attending level 2 training this summer at the school's expense. The position is working well, and he is developing a good rapport with the students, which is important. The neighborhood center that is housed in the school currently has no mental health provider. They are looking for a replacement. Identigo, the fingerprinting that is in the school now, is busier than expected. It is available by appointment only. This service was added to our community services registry that I helped to spearhead last year. I emailed everybody on the registry and asked them to make sure their information for this year is up to date. And several organizations did respond to Mike's office, and Alexis, God bless her, took care of all of that for us. You can find that registry at oldforgeny.com/community services. Please find it and share it. It's really important. It has everything that you can think of, and if there's something that we didn't think of, let me know and we'll get it on there for services in the town, in the area. The garbage law update, Scott has made some recommendations for the update to the 2012 law, which Nancy copied for everybody here, and it has Scott's suggestions on it, just in handwriting. So please look at that and get back to Tom or I and let us know if there's anything else that you want to do with the update on that so that we can get it all ready. We still need the verbiage for the new portion of the window cling for residents and additional bag tags in case of drop off by visitors and or renters. That's being worked on by Bill Rabia and the Solid Waste Authority, but he's still waiting for some stuff which I will actually get to for in here also. Construction and demolition materials are already not accepted, as Tom said, in our 2012 law that has been used for years, and we are going to enforce it. So you can bring 2 32-gallon containers. The stuff has to be cut to fit in those 32-gallon containers. We are going to ruin a very expensive, recently replaced compressor compactor if we continue to allow that to happen. And we are trying to look into something with Scott to see if we can find another way to have a dumpster for C&D that would be a paid service. But right now, we don't have a location. We would have to have another employee. I'd love it if private enterprise wanted to use a little piece of town land and do it themselves. So put that in your thinking caps. The Born Learning Trail is installed over at North Street. Thank you to Erica Spado of United Way of the Mohawk Valley who coordinated the effort. This is a series of 6 signs that go around the backside of our playground area that Kurt had the vision for how to place them. They look really great. This was all donated, and the sponsors were Excelis Blue Cross Blue Shield and Berkshire Bank. And then the United Way of the Mohawk Valley has what they call emerging leaders, who were the volunteers. There were 9 of them that came up and put these posts and signage into place. JK Lumber donated the posts and the cement. Pullman Sand and Gravel dug the holes, and we really appreciate all of their efforts. It's great. Take your kids there, take your grandchildren there, and check it out. And actually, I read them all, and you can feel like a kid for a few minutes when you're over there. They make you think and make you act and smile and listen. So they're really cool. Tom, Scott Gaffney, Alex Ross, and I will be having a Zoom meeting tomorrow with Barton and LaJudas engineer Chris Lawton to discuss possible options. And Corey, I'm going to apologize to you because, again, I was not aware that Northern Borders grant was moving forward in the collection systems. But I've talked with Tom, I've talked with Scott, I've talked with Mike. We do feel that we need to look at all of our options moving forward for the next phase. And this doesn't impede anything that you're currently working on. So that being said, we're going to meet with them tomorrow. Regarding any of the sewer collection system grant possibilities, and let's see, the meeting is going to be recorded for transparency and so that the remaining board members can hear the conversation, and Chris has asked that Don Hall listen in as well. So this is not put anything over on anybody, none of that. We're just trying to look at all of our options to move forward. Scott has asked that we also do a similar meeting with John Putnam from GHD. John is currently working with the town on the pump station over at Steamboat Landing. So this is a information gathering and understanding of what's available. It's not an interview or a request for proposals. It's just to have a better understanding of what's going on. And so that's all. Yeah, that wasn't too bad.
Barb, is that an engineering company you're talking about?
Barton and LaJudas, yeah, it's somebody that the town has worked with in the past. And
what
as is
project?
GHD. Did B&L work on the Toby path with us?
I think they did the first Toby one maybe.
Toby
They
one?
did one of them, yeah.
Lakefront too, I think. I think they work on the lakefront too.
Could be like
Yeah.
that too, yeah. We've used them before, I don't know what the
Yeah.
project is.
What on the
No, we did a lakefront.
No, that was the guy that sat in here when they were talking about housing, wasn't it? Them guys?
There was a representative from there, yeah.
That's one of them.
So let me clarify this. This is not attached to housing. This is only about sewer. So I don't want any negativity planted on this. Barton and LaJudas is a reputable firm, and so is GHD, and so is Bernier and Carr. We're trying to get information. So when we met Chris Lawton, Dave was supervisor. We had just hired Don Hall. We were looking at Railroad Ave for the property that we were trying to consider some housing options there. And Don Hall brought Chris Lawton to us as a engineer consultant for that project. I want to bring him back to talk about sewer because that's what he was talking on.
I have something to say. I would have liked to be in on that Zoom meeting.
But we can't have 3 people. Tom and I are the committee people. It's going to be recorded.
I think it should have been a board, across the board, just like we brought Corey in. I think he should come in and talk to us.
Well, it's.
I disagree with you, Bart. I think it should be brought in just like Corey
I'm sorry.
and talk to the board.
As far as anything that's concerned, connected to that housing over there, if this is a firm, my antenna's go.
It's not their firm. They
They
were
work with that
hired.
firm.
They were hired by that firm. So because people have a bad taste about one individual or a firm,
You're right, you
whatever,
do. Yes,
This
we
is
do.
a separate organization that the town has
Okay,
worked
this isn't
with.
gonna be a debate right now. I just wanna say that I wanna be in on that meeting.
We
I don't
can't have,
think
it's not a,
that
it's,
that's too much to
it
ask
becomes a
for.
public meeting,
And
Bonnie.
it should be,
Then have a public meeting.
and it
It's
should
not,
be.
we're gathering information so that we have a better understanding. We're the committee people. So when Kurt
But you're
goes around and
gathering
asks information,
information.
or Mike goes and asks information on stuff, he doesn't have to have everybody present to do it. I don't understand why we have to go through this. This is not about housing. This is not Bob Kelly.
No, it's not. It's
People
about
First is not
infrastructure,
involved.
which I've been working
Correct. And-
extremely hard on.
And not giving
Grant
us enough
funding.
information. We have to beg
And
for the
I would
information.
like, there's no begging for information.
We have to ask you, you threw stuff at me when I asked you at the last meeting, when I didn't understand Corey's stuff, you literally
And
went
why
like
don't you
this.
call Corey up and ask him your questions?
Because how do I ask him the questions when I
You
don't
have
know what
eight-
you're
You know Corey was
doing?
coming tonight.
Yeah, you didn't tell us that Corey was coming tonight. That's a very good point. We are not trying to do anything under, to hide anything from you. Tom and I
How
are
does the
trying to
rest of the
educate
board
ourselves.
feel about B&L coming here and not all of us being involved? Am I the only one that feels this way right now?
It's not
Mike,
an interview.
Mike, go
I
ahead.
talked to
Your
Mike about
opinion.
this, and he said that he thought we should be talking to everybody we can.
I agree.
And we have the department heads for both
I
departments coming.
agree.
I don't,
But as the supervisor, I think I should be involved, period.
Well, that's nice. As committee people, we thought we were doing the right thing. So, once again, Bonnie, you don't let me do my job ever. Come to the meeting. Then one of us has to leave because it's not an advertised public meeting. You can hear everything that we're gonna say. There is nothing off color happening. This is, I don't know how much more transparent
So
I
where
can
would
be.
this, okay, so I'm gonna have a recap of the Zoom meeting, right?
You'll have a full copy of the Zoom meeting.
Great.
You can watch the whole thing.
Anybody else wanted to pipe in? Kurt? Mike? Anybody else want to say anything?
well, I guess the conversation that we had, I've always said, more information the better. I've never been against
That's
any
all
of
that
And that's what we're doing.
Housing
Corey
has
is
not
here
been brought up the
tonight.
entire time.
I didn't know Corey was coming until today either, but he's here tonight. He just explained everything that they are doing. Why we want to muddy the water, I'm not sure. He's looked for he's been working on this for 5 years, that company.
Exactly my point.
Trying to
Okay?
get, and everybody says there's all this money. How many times have I said that sitting in this board? Oh, we got all this money. We haven't gotten it with nothing.
We're just trying to talk
That's
to
why we're,
other
that's why we're,
firms.
that's why we're
To
talking
get-
about
Is that
options.
the right thing? I don't know.
It sounds like there's a lot that Corey's got going on. There's a lot that he's taking on. There's a lot to do.
And I don't
All
disagree
facets.
with looking at other companies, but I feel like I should have been involved.
Well, you could have said that to me when I told you about this several days ago. I told you that it was.
I
gonna
told you
happen.
that I thought it should be all of us involved.
No,
I
you did
asked if
not.
Corey could come be involved. You said no.
You said,
You
is
said
Corey
no.
coming? Is what
Can
you
anyone
asked.
else? You pretty much had it all planned.
Well, you
I
might be
did.
able to answer a lot of questions.
Oh my God! All right, you know what? You want me to cancel it, Bonnie?
No, go ahead, Barb. No, go for it.
If the public thinks that I'm trying to do something bad, please speak up right
I
now.
don't
Let me
think
know.
you're trying to do
collect
something bad.
information.
I don't
Bad.
think you're trying to do something bad.
You're changing gears on me, and this is frustrating because you told me your son is going to sit in on the meeting with us tomorrow, and
I
Scott is
can't
going
do
to sit in on the
anything when
meeting.
my son is involved in, so I've already said
That's not my
that.
point. My point is we're being transparent. I'm
Jesus,
telling
that was at the
this-
county.
This is.
Okay. Mike, do you have something you want to talk about?
I just think that
Thank you, everyone.
when we have meetings, it helps me a lot. I'm just gonna speak for myself. Emails and texting and all that crap, I'm sorry, I don't follow very good. It takes way too much time. If we sit in a meeting with everybody involved, we all hear the same stuff.
You have meetings regularly
Yeah,
with
we all
Corey,
do.
you and Bonnie, that we don't hear any of it. So you want to
don't
throw
have
this at me?
meetings with Corey all the
You
time.
do too, and you have meeting, EFC, Zoom meetings? I'm
All right,
sorry.
all right.
Call me a
Here-
liar.
here's- all right.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna bring something up at one of our meetings a long time ago. When Don was off this board, I asked this board specifically at a meeting,
I'm glad you're
God is
enjoying this,
leaving.
Dave. Glad you think it's so goddamn funny right now.
Excuse me?
You heard me.
Excuse, what are you accusing me of? I'm
I
just
want to
sitting
confirm
here.
this because I asked this board when Don was leaving. I said, "Do you guys mind if I take over what Don was the only one that knew about that sewer plant as far as I'm concerned. I knew nothing. Do you guys mind if I take the reins and go with this program?"
Right, and you did.
And everybody said, "Absolutely, run with it."
Yes.
How can I not run with it? Remember when we had I was on vacation and I sat in a phone call meeting. You were the first person I called and you denied that I even talked to you.
I did not.
Yes, you
I did not.
You said I didn't know anything about it. I called you right after that meeting. I said, Barb, we got a problem. They just changed what Corey's gone through. They just changed all that stuff. We got problems.
But you didn't have any details, and you told me that you told the woman you needed it in writing, and that's exactly what you told me. I never denied that you
At the
talked
end of
to
the
me.
day, 2 board members at a time meet up for different things that have to
All
do
the
with the town
time.
all the time. Off. We
All
just
the
talked
time.
about. I met with Kurt the
Sure.
other day. I met with Barley. I met with Bark. I've talked with Bonnie. Whatever. That comes up all the time. That always happens. And I can assure you, this whole time, we've just been trying to look at other ways, talking with Scott to get focused on the infrastructure. It's got nothing to do with what Corey and his company is doing. Everybody's trying to get something done, and that's it. And when this thing came up tomorrow, the H word didn't come up one time. Okay, housing did not come up at all. And I didn't even know that this company was connected to the housing project. Like, I'm just redirecting our focus, but to say that we all need to meet, all 5 of us, call it an claims audit meeting, or whatever it is I'm trying to learn, or this executive session stuff every time we're trying to look into something is completely bogus in my opinion. So I mean that's all I have on that. I think we're just being we're nitpicking everything that everybody's doing right now, and at the end of the day, nothing's getting done because we're taking turns shutting down this and that. It's getting a little out of control, if you ask me.
Anybody else?
Figure it out.
Thank you, everyone. Mike, do you have anything
I
you
just
want to
wanted to
report
ask
on?
you mentioned a while back about taking money and investing it. Did you?
Yes, the
into that
bank
anymore?
is going to match. I have a meeting with the bank this week. They're asking that we not remove the money and that they're going to help match those funds so we don't have to remove them.
What are we talking about?
The New York class, municipal, taking some money out and investing in New York class, like we signed that. And the bank would like to talk to me this week about that. And they're gonna match what New York class can do so that we don't remove the money from their bank.
With the interest
Wow.
rates, those stuff.
Correct.
Community.
Yep.
That's
And
huge.
they said they would fluctuate it, they would watch that, and make sure that we got what we needed. So that the money didn't get moved.
That's a big deal for that, for them to do that.
Mhm.
Well, the conversation needs to be had, that's all.
Well,
It's good.
because that was just a substantial gain.
Yes.
So anyways, thanks, that's all I got.
All right. Tomorrow is the official opening of the Conklin Family Dog Park. That's at 12 o'clock. If anybody wants to come, that's going to be fun. We talked about the construction. Oh, the tennis courts. I had some people come in and ask if they could paint permanent pickleball lines on the tennis courts. They would be in a different color, so it wouldn't interfere with the tennis lines. Do I have permission to let them do that?
Absolutely.
I mean, that should be fine. Should we do it or?
Yeah,
Was that a yes?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll ask the guys if they
What
can.
about color or?
No, because we're gonna tear it out in a couple of years.
Okay. Sounds good. The Steamboat Landing project, that's done, but it certainly didn't go out on a good note. One of the property owners had a sewer backup in their basement. They called in multiple contractors to troubleshoot that problem. Eventually, we figured out that maybe there was a crunch in the line. The contractor that we hired for the Steamboat project said it's not his issue. The contractor that the homeowner hired said it's not their issue. So we have our engineer firm looking into whose fault it really is so that we can get the bills and see who's responsible for those bills. So that's going on. We have a few repair jobs. Some are emergencies within the town. If anyone's interested in bidding on any of these jobs, please get a hold of us as soon as possible so we can show you the sites and exactly what needs to be done. They're mostly small roof and deck repairs right now.
So the only problem with saying that here is that this will not be public
We're
as
gonna
far
put it in
as
the paper too.
Okay, all right, so do you have a deadline?
It has to be, yeah, ASAP, whatever that deadline's gonna be.
They still have to go to public bid.
What
they're
was that?
small jobs, like 3,000, 5,000,
Still
so
have to go
I
public
think
bid with it.
they're, I don't know if it's a bid or if it's,
So you get 2 quotes if it's under a
Quotes,
certain dollar
right.
amount. 2 quotes.
Nancy, I'm all done. Do you have anything?
I have a couple things. I need
Okay.
a resolution for Otter Lake Fire Department to sell raffle tickets for 2023. In the town of, sorry. So basically, a raffle license for Otter Lake.
motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Just a nod, the View would like to hold their annual ice cream social event, July 28th at Point Park.
Yep.
Everyone okay with that?
Yeah.
They didn't give me a time or anything. It's the normal. FYI, Joseph Sweet, Toca Boca Restaurant, 306-728 has applied for a liquor license. That's just an FYI. The last day for junk days is this Saturday, June 17th, 8 to 4, for your, any kind of junk. And then summer garbage schedule is starting on June 19th. It's been in the paper and it's been on our townweb.org if there's any changes. That's all I got.
Thank you. Now we're going to go to the members of assembly. Please state your name for the record. Erica?
Sorry, I didn't know your language. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. Sorry, I know this isn't always easy for everybody up here. I came tonight representing the Polar Bears as the president. This is a little late, I really apologize, but I really wanted to come before the board and thank you so much for this winter, for making snow past the Make Snow date at Mount Holly. I want to thank the board and the town and Stevie U. We were able to hold the race really late in the season after having not a lot of snow, as everybody knows. It was a little tricky there on March 18th and 19th, and it went off awesome, you know. Again, there was a lot of people, no different than this last weekend. Not as many, but, you know, several hundred people that were just so happy. They love our town. They love the mountain, the terrain. Everything went wonderful. You guys went above and beyond helping us keep everything clean in the parking lots and just being there for us at every step of the way. We just want you to know how appreciative we are that we're allowed to be up at that mountain doing what we do. We have almost 75 kids in the program, biathletes, Nordic and Alpine at this time. So we hope to continue to keep doing that in the future, but I just wanted to make you understand how thankful we are and grateful we are to have the support of the town.
Thank you. That's an amazing polar bear program. We
Yeah.
appreciate you guys
You
for
bet.
being there as well. Anyone else? Yes.
I just up with a gravel truck here a couple weeks ago, and I found a couple of glitches in the system. Number one, it's an old car, and old cars don't have collision or comprehensive, but I do have liability. So when I play the game like I'm supposed to, I call my agent. They won't help me because they don't have the proper insurance. Okay. I solved the problem by going directly to the insurance company, Kratzy's. Okay, very, very friendly and everything else. The other problem I ran into is the incident report does not include any policy numbers. I would think that that's an automatic thing to do. They were not collected. Bob Kratzy showed his card for his insurance company. He's the only one out of all the other people. So I would ask that you modify your incident form to include the policy number, regardless of who's at fault. Now, the way I got a hold of things is I had there were two phone numbers on the incident report. One was Kratzenberg's pit number, what gravel pit he's working in, and the other one was his home number. Well, he was more than a little grumpy when I called him. He says, well, Webb should take care of that, but Webb didn't. because it's not on the incident report.
You're talking about everybody that was involved there?
Everybody should have had
policy number.
Should have had the policy number on the incident report. There's no space for it on there. The form is less than adequate.
If it's something we
Anyway,
can do.
I will say that I was paid within 10 days after it happened. Because they were so friendly. They would text me when something was happening. We're evaluating now and all that. It was incredible. And got the money that Skouton wanted. Now, my car isn't fixed yet. It's parked down at Skouton's. He's taken his wife on a Alaska cruise. And his wife and mother. That was a great part.
I'm glad it all worked out for you. I know you went through a lot to get to that point.
Yeah, no, it's,
We'll look into that, report and policy numbers.
they were extremely helpful. They were afraid they were gonna get a class action suit because I understand there was something like 20 claimants. Anyway, thank you for the help I got from the board.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Anyone else?
I got a question. Is there any update on the housing? You mentioned it tonight. Is there any update?
I didn't mention anything. I said not housing.
Well,
That's what I
I'm
said.
just saying.
Not
The word
housing.
housing, my radar goes up. I mean, is there anything anyone knows or?
No, board's been completely silent, so.
And
The
also.
update on housing, like us addressing the housing situation, or like the project that went on
I
down
don't know,
there?
people ask me and I said, I don't know why they think I know anything, but I said, no, I don't know.
I think that motion was made on February 14th, right, to have the town no longer involved in what they're doing. So as far as, you know, the deal, that's the private deal between them down there, that's got nothing to do with us. So there's no update that we have on that. As far as like addressing the housing issue we have here, I mean, it's always on my mind. I'm always trying to figure out ways to figure it out. It seems like there's a lot of people around town that are finding more places to renovate and rent. There's some people that are turning their tune and doing year-round renting versus short-term. It's been brought up to my attention about those folks that paid their short-term rental permit, and it's a 2-year thing. And, you know, is it possible for them if they switch to year-round renting, would they get that money back? I think that's something that we should consider. If that were to happen down the line, if somebody came into us and said that, you know, like, hey, short-term renting's not working out, and I know there's a need for some people, and a young family asked to rent my place, and, you know, if they can prove that or show us a lease, I think that might be something we should look into. But
There would have to be an actual law change for how it's written to allow for it.
in that time, that whole, you know, zoning thing and stuff down the road, but as far as a housing project, no, I don't think anybody's worked on anything right now. I think it's been, you know, put down for the time being.
And also, I understand there's a community garden being discussed.
Yes, we have the fencing that will be put in place by October for the community garden. And then it'll be phase 2 next year, which will be some raised beds put in there
Where's this located?
down by the dog park.
Is this a vegetable garden?
Whatever you want to plant in your little cubicle that you did.
Wouldn't you want to be farther away from the dog park than, okay.
I never thought about it.
They're raised.
That's my first thought. Fertilizer isn't, there's certain fertilizers aren't good for animals.
Well, it's a good, 30 or 40 feet in between the two.
No, I
I'm
don't know.
not-
How far does the septic tank have to be from, source of water or, you know, I mean, there's, I don't know. It's a little strange, I would think, to have a dog park and a vegetable garden or.
You want to provide some information, because I think it's only been talked about at like the Monday claims meeting too much, but it seemed pretty.
I don't know. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I guess that's something we should look into as far as what
Yeah,
fertilizer we're doing.
Just, I'm just thinking, you know, dogs and fertilizer and,
They're raised beds, so they're kind of self-contained in some aspects, but I'm not an expert on them. I'm a gardener, but I'm not a gardener, so I don't.
I think it's something that could probably be mitigated even by just literally digging a trench between the two different fenced areas and filling with stones so there's drainage, so if there's runoff from anything, it can go underground. I don't think there's gonna be any kind of fertilizer that, they're talking about doing compost piles and, trying to be as natural as possible, so.
I see.
If you go down there, you'll see
what the plan was. I'm just thinking.
Is that what the ribbon is?
the orange ribbon that's there is basically the footprint of what they're looking to do, which is on the opposite side of where the dog, there is a big space between them. Currently now, there is a water line that's gonna be getting run into that was already being placed in for the dog park, so that there will be water there during the warmer seasons.
Right.
So that line will be tapped into as well for the garden side.
So there's a plan for this then? Is there someone in charge of this? How does this?
There's a committee right now. It
Okay.
would be Linda Wheel, myself, Dan Kieferbach, and Naomi Kelly. Thank you. I
Gotcha.
can.
Okay, just curious.
Yep.
Just heard
I
about that.
appreciate your point with the fertilizer. I
I'm just
never
thinking,
even thought about it.
Yeah, some of it is poisonous.
Yeah.
Usually water and sewer is 100 feet apart, so.
Yep.
It's not 100 feet.
Yeah, we'll look into that.
Kind of funny.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
I'm thinking back to when I was about 5 years old. My family had a family garden with corn and strawberries and asparagus. We used horse manure to fertilize that for years and years, and I'm still here. So I don't know.
People still do.
Anyone else?
Old horse, without Fred.
Do I have a motion to pay the audited claims?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Second?
Somebody do a second. Kurt was
I'll
talking.
second.
Sorry, I couldn't.
All in favor?
I did.
Thank you all for coming.